Illuminati's into chat.
You still sound like you just doing a really bad voice.
I know I wanted to hear you do a deep voice to see if you could, but man, that sounded like it was a struggle.
Anywho, the topic we're bringing up, and this is something I've been meaning to address this for a while, but I figured, hey, we're gonna do it now because we're all here.
Honey, we know you're gay, and we love you all the same.
No, it's female Space Marines. No, because there is so much. There's so many. I mean, see that you know how all the bullshit and like wives' tales and lies about them there are out there on the internet, right?
Oh God, yes.
So I figured it'd be a good thing to discuss and like put up here on the stream for people who don't know, you know, like the facts, like debunking the facts from the myths and all that stuff. I'm actually going to see if I can stream this on Discord so y'all can see my screen at the same time as me. So hold up, everyone.
Well, you know, and again, I'll save it for the full discussion, but there's one very important thing, and I'm glad Badger is in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Go ahead and connect to the go ahead and connect if you
got it.
So we're all on the same. So we're all on the same page here. So yeah, I exactly, Nova. Gross. So now this what we have before you. This image. This is the inciting incident. Okay, so for those who don't know, a couple years back, it was like Spiky Bits, fucking Bella of Lost Souls, all the fucking woke gaming journalist rags, and those two are like just the Kotaku and Polygon of tabletop gaming news. Saw this quote by Alan Merritt, who used to work for Games Workshop, and this was his story about what happened with why there are no female Space Marines, right? You've probably seen this posted before, you guys, at some point. But basically, what he says is that the reason there aren't female, he says it had nothing to do with lore. It had everything to do with the fact that, according to him, they used to make 25% of all models female, and that they didn't sell. So basically, they couldn't sell female models. And then when, you know, they were going to make Warhammer 40K, according to him, they wanted to make female Space Marines, but they were like, they won't sell. So they were like, okay, so we're not going to have female Space Marines. And then basically, so they ditched that idea.
It was not cake. It was cream, father.
Yes, exactly, philosopher. But yeah, so basically they, they released the, the original Marine kits, which were, all male, the original Metal Marines. And then, And then, it also says that, he says, the success of the plastic Marine set, the original plastic Space Marines, played a part, and it certainly wouldn't have been possible to make it so there were 2 or 3 in a box. It said that statement doesn't make any sense, actually, now that I actually read it out loud. The plastic Marines played a part, but he doesn't say how. He just says, because it would have been too hard to make 2 or 3 of the Marines female, like, okay, you could have just molded it.
Okay.
I was going to say, it sounds like, from what he's trying to say, that Warhammer, in its conception, they had the idea of female Space Marines, but then they later established it in lore, and since then it's been just like, well, why change it? And, it would be costly to change it anyways, so why do so? It's established to be male, we are going with male. It really does feel like he's talking about the equivalent of being like, well, back in AD&D, it's like, yeah, okay, but it's not AD&D anymore, so guess it.
Okay, so my take, this is corporate doublespeak that lays the blame where they want to lay the blame, men.
Yeah.
Because who are going to be the primary players? The men, he didn't say it, but men didn't want to buy female figures because men think girls are icky. So the business decision was made not to. So that way, it gives GW an out and puts the blame where they like to put the blame.
And I will point out, and this is something I've always, one of the main things I've always said about Merritt's statement, is that there's no corroborating evidence to any of this. There's nothing to back up his claim. No one else has come forward. There's no evidence that this was, a policy at Games Workshop, especially considering the fact that, we'll see this in a bit, but he's put out several statements in this sense. This is the second one he put out. I forget. I want to say this was actually a screen cap that Bitshammer took. I think.
Oh, well, that right there's a.
But he was basically. Actually, wait, no. I think this is Bitshammer's. But anyway, right. So, Bitshammer asked, from what I understand, he asked Alan Merritt to try to, debunk the debunking of that they had the idea for it. And he says the following. Okay. First question, easy answer, definitely not canon, as it is nothing to do with the official work by GW and the design studio. 40k and Warhammer articles in other people's magazines were studiously ignored by management and more often than not, irritated the designers themselves. That is, if they were even aware of them, which was probably most likely. Second question, as the years unfolded, it turned out that 40k was wildly more popular than we could have ever possibly imagined, and hugely successful commercially. The company, the designers, for miniatures and writers, were constantly looking for more things to do. There's a picture of a warrior nun in the original Rogue Trader book, and it was this single image that was the inspiration for Sisters of Battle. We're going to get into that in a minute, by the way. These were never intended. These were never intended as a replacement for the female Astartes. The canonical position was that such entities did not exist in the 40k universe. The sisters were grasped as an opportunity to give structure to the Midas Storm and to release some cool warrior nun models. Jess, that's Jess Goodwin, designed some knockout miniatures for the sisters, and Brian Nelson did some particularly fine priests and the like, but the army wasn't the most popular one we released. As always, Games Workshop got loads of flack about the rules for the army, and specifically the saving throw for the basic sisters. These are often cited for why the army was so relatively unpopular. Draw your own conclusions. I suspect it remains a third or best second rank army in terms of sales and collecting despite the rather marvelous new models. The company has recently published All the Best, Alan. And then, the response from, I'm guessing it was Bitshammer. Now here's what's funny about that, because that's the second statement. I want you to keep it all in mind. Now we're going to his third statement. Because again, he has mentioned this 3 times. Crikey, I'm not sure if I can make it this better, but I'll have a go. I was always trying to remind folks that all this happened years ago, and memory is a strange and sometimes unreliable beast. 2 separate strands of old stuff colliding gloriously. Female Space Marines, as I outlined in a previous reference, we had no overarching inclination, plan, or strategy to include female models in our Space Marine range. That's directly contradictory to the first statement, where, that was a plan, and then they were like, oh, hey, female models don't sell. But we did need to release as many 40k models as we could, because the success of the game and model range was something of a shock. We went through a rapid process of designing and releasing as many models as we could. Virtually every model with a gun got released somehow, regardless of its quality or appropriateness. Not everyone was completely on the same page with what was going on, and the designers were encouraged to push boundaries and try out stuff. Ali Morrison sculpted a couple of female Space Marine models, and we stuck them in that mixtured code of random models. Ali appeared to have used the warrior nun picture in the 40k book as a reference. I don't know exactly why he did that. Maybe he was confused about the subject, or perhaps it was the only reference to female-shaped power armor. As for the tag saying sister, well, if the male Marines were brothers, then female Space Marines were sisters, obviously. Sisters of Battle. Much later development in the genesis of the idea, that same single piece of iconic 40k artwork in the background of the Rogue Trader book, but nothing to do with the old female Space Marine models. Now, here's the problem with all that. So these are his three statements on female Space Marines. Now, we're going to go into some stuff. Now, remember, in the first statement, he said straight up that the plan was female Space Marines, but before they got to writing canon, they decided not to, because female models didn't sell, right? Now in this statement, he says there was no overarching inclination, plan, or strategy for it. So he's immediately contradicting himself. Now let's see. This is what is it, White Dwarf 98? This was released like 3 months after Rogue Trader. This is where it was first stated that only men can be space marines. But considering this is only 3 months after Rogue Trader, they would have had to be writing this while writing Rogue Trader, you know? Like you know what I mean, guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means this was planned. This was planned lore, along with Rogue Trader. So that means Space Marines, in terms of lore, being always male, was the idea from the start. And again, this is the infamous original pointing out that, you know, let's see, that the, let's see, where is it in here? The considerations mean that only a small portion of people can become Space Marines. They must be male because zygotes are keyed to male hormones and tissue types, hence the need for tissue compatibility tests and psychological screening. So, yeah, like there it is. Only men can be Space Marines. Only men are genetically compatible with gene seed. But it strikes me as a little weird because this forever locks women out. And I feel like if the plan was at some point they were going to do female Space Marines, I feel like putting in a permanent lockout of female characters kind of contradicts that. Like a permanent thing.
I think his story varied based on, dare I say, the politics of the moment.
Yeah, like very much varied based on the politics of the moment. And now let's see again. Now again, this is the when he said a image of a warrior nun, you know, very nondescript, right? That was the idea for the Sisters of Battle. Well, here's the thing, though. Now, we're going to need to zoom in a little bit, but, you know, this is the lore. Like, okay, first of all, this is the image he was talking about. This is the, we'll come back to this in a minute, all right? But this is the image he was talking about. Now, but let's look at the lore. Let's look at some of the terminology used. Let's see. Adeptus Ministorum, Imperial Cult, Administratum, Ecclesiarchy. So these are all like, you know, the first instances of these terms a lot of the time. Let's see, where is it?
'Cause it's been forever, but I don't remember the kind of quasi-religious stress back in Rogue Trader.
Yeah, but here we go.
It was more like gangs and cops beating each other up.
Yeah, Space Marines have a much more police-like role, but here we go. As the power of the okay, this is the bottom paragraph I'm reading off. As the power of the Adeptus Ministorum has grown, so a multitude of sub-organizations have developed within the compass of the Ecclesiarchy. An interesting example of this is the Adeptus Sororitas, an order of devotional warrior women. The Adepta is organized along similar lines to the Space Marines. The Sisterhood, as is generally known, is led by an abbess and includes many lesser ranks and offices in a similar way to the Adeptus Astartes. There are two. Then it goes into like all the you know, the stuff about where their primary bases are on Earth and Ophelia 4. But you get the idea. Like this is not like, oh, there was a warrior nun picture and we developed lore based on that. No. The Adeptus Sororitas and the idea of the sisterhood, they weren't called Sisters of Battle, but the idea of the sisterhood, you know, of battle was a concept all the way back when they wrote Rogue Trader. So Alan Merritt being all like, oh, we developed the whole idea from, you know, this picture, and we developed the lore from this picture, and there was no lore before. That doesn't track either.
Okay, since I don't know all the names as well as you do, how long is Merrett, and the question you have to ask is, what was his position in the early days? Was he at the top or mid or low?
That is a good question. I'm going to look this up in the meantime.
Because he could have just been. This is the schlub story we give you. Hey, this is the story. This is what was going to happen. You know, this is the company line.
I'm willing to bet there is probably a wiki article I can check out just to get this general idea of what is actual. Okay, here we go. Lexicanum. Thank you, Lexicanum. Coming in hot. If it loads. Come on, Lexicanum, fucking load. Oh, okay, there we go. It is.
It's been a little weird today.
Yeah, it has been. All right, hold up. Author of several books set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, as well as a long-term employee of Black Library Games Workshop, who has held several important positions within the company. In his tenure, he's overseen both miniature and game design and production. Been in charge of the Golden Demon and in charge of Black Library itself. He's currently the overseer of all intellectual property development. He worked on Visions of War, Visions of Darkness, Visions of Treachery, Visions of Death, and Collected Visions from the Horus Heresy. That was what he wrote.
Okay.
He doesn't work there anymore, by the way. I'd have to find the Reddit post out there. And I'm really maybe I still have it. I'm gonna file through my fucking files of all this shit I have collected because remember when these arguments were at a fever pitch when I came to Twitter, so I have all the pictures saved, and maybe I have this one. But there was someone on Reddit who worked alongside Merrett who was talking about how Merrett was behind a lot of factions being prevented from getting a tabletop re-release. Like, he apparently did not like Gene Stealer cults and squats. Like, he was the reason they got rid of those. And then when he quit the company, I'm guessing, because remember, around the time he quit the company, they started putting out stuff like Gene Stealer cults, Death Watch, Custodes, and eventually the squats came back too. Didn't he leave until 2016? I think it was 2016, yeah.
But, I mean, back when he's talking about that initial release, the 25% and all that, again, he may have been a mid to low-level employee at that point.
Yeah, like...
He didn't necessarily... He wasn't privy... I don't know what the owner of the company I work for is thinking on a day-to-day basis, so... Yeah, I put out the party line.
And that's why it's funny to me that that's funny to me because again, his statements are not corroborated from other employees or other veterans of the company or any kind of actual evidence. It's literally him saying, "Trust me, bro." And that I'm sorry, but that is not viable information. You need to corroborate sources with information and other testimonials, which is why it's so much a gaming journalist move to just run with his word as gospel. But
because it reinforces what they want to hear. But my first question would be, what was your position at the time?
Yeah, exactly. Now you might recognize these two models, right? That are currently up.
Yes.
Yeah, the air quotes. I want to point out these were the models pointed out in the Bell of Lost Souls and Spiky Bits articles as female Space Marines. Well, somebody actually had a pair of these models, and on the sprue you can very clearly read it says sister. Now, I think Merritt's third response was in reaction to this. Oh, they called them sister because they're female Space Marines, and the males are called brother. Obviously. Well, here's the thing, though. We have pictures of the pewter Space Marines. Look what it says on the sprue.
Marine.
It says
Marine, yeah.
It says Marine, and for anybody who thinks this isn't one of them, by the way, on the back, Games Workshop 1987. So that's pretty damning right there. Those are nasty. I mean, they're not very good looking models. Like
things were a little rough back in the day. Let's put it that way. They wanted to keep prices down. They knew it was mostly teenagers playing.
Well, also the fact that just the model quality was just not there. And
the metal was also very soft, so it was very easy to screw the models.
Yeah, they used to make them out of lead.
Yeah, I had lead models.
Yeah, but again, the molding tech just isn't what it was today. They had to physically make all the molds. There was no computer aided design and all that. But continuing on with some more information here is now this is the article. Is this showing up on Discord for y'all? Okay, it is.
Yeah.
This is the catalog page that the two female female models. We're not calling them female Space Marines. We're calling them female models. This is the catalog page that they were featured in, and this is where, they call them, female Space Marines. That's what the articles called them, citing Alan Merritt, even though he didn't refer to these models at all in the original statement. But let's zoom in, and you can clearly read the names here. That's the first one on the left, Female Warrior Jane, and down here, Female Warrior Gabs. They are.
Yep.
Well, first of all, this is funny because this also disproves another part of Merritt's statement, where it's like, oh well, female models didn't sell, so we didn't sell them. Like, what the fuck are these then? They're not the only.
And if you,
they're not the only ones. Like, they're not the only ones either. There's the so you've got Female Warrior Gabs and Jane. Right below Gabs is a Space Amazon. Above the hero is the Mad Punk, who looks like, the Mad Punk to the right of Gabs, that looks like a female model with a mohawk. There's the Imperial Assassin, who is also female.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very visible breasts. That is a woman. Are there any others? Are there any others in here that could be construed as female? It doesn't look like it, but no, the Psyker. The Psyker is female, next to Female Warrior Jane up there. So that's 1, 2. Okay, I'm counting here, but be patient. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 confirmed and 1 possible female model in this list, from a company that apparently completely gave up on female models before before they even started making Warhammer 40K. The Astropath, possibly. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say the Astropath is a possible 7th. Astropath Corm, I'm going to say, is a possible 7th. But yeah, it's like, these are very clearly female models, right? Like again, the 5 definites are female, and the 2 possibles are also possibly female. From a company that, according to Merrett, made it policy to not make female models anymore after after a certain point because they didn't sell. But they'll put these out. So that's another hole in his story. But wait, we're not done yet. So let's look at this image. I want to note the look at the Sister Sin's shoulder pad, and then look at the painted icon.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. It's like, wow, it's almost like they were trying to tell us something. And the fleur-de-lis, even back then.
Yeah. It's almost like these are the Sisters of Battle, or the Adeptus Sororitas, or the Sisterhood that were mentioned in the the heraldry, exactly, that were mentioned in the book.
And the armor looks different, even from the weird shit the Space Marines wore back then.
Yeah, it almost looks like they've got the gas mask on the chest, like Sister Sin does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this is punching more holes in Merritt's claim. And let's see, is there anything else before we move on to debunking another popular myth about female Space Marines? I just want to let me go through my archive of bullshit here. Okay, so that looks like it's it. We're gonna move on to a classic now. All right.
Well, exactly, Lopside, and that's the point. But when you point that out to people, you get this basically sick 12-year-old. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So who recognizes this article?
Oh no! Please. This is like, as soon as you see this, you're like, you just lost your whole argument, right?
Yeah. So so another YouTube channel, Snipe and Wib, put out a video about female Space Marines and used this as evidence that they used to be canon. That's why people think this was a Games Workshop article.
Well, GDW, yeah. I mean, that's.
I came back to Cutie Beakies.
Okay, so what this is, for people who don't know, This is widely pushed. And again, the Snipe and Whip YouTube channel pushed this as a canon story about female space marines from a White Dwarf magazine. Here's the problem, though.
Right.
Follow the green arrows. It says in the upper left, it has GDW. Middle right, challenge. Bottom left arrow by Roger Hamlin. So here's
right. Yeah.
So here's
Roger.
so in their push to say female space marines were once canon in the old editions, what they didn't realize is here's what they didn't realize. I want you to now. Okay, this is Challenge Magazine number 36 by Games Design Workshop, or GDW. The GDW's magazine of futuristic gaming, and we're gonna zoom in real quick here on the green highlighted box for Warhammer 40,000, Sunstroke by Roger Hamlin. This was not a Games Workshop article. This was a fan article in a fan magazine that they just threw in.
I played two of the other games on the page of Twilight 2000, which was a nuclear World War III simulator with America and Russia, and Mega Traveler, which was just travel on a grand scale. Yeah, it's just a general gaming mag.
Yeah, so this is just a general gaming mag with basically a fan fiction article about the idea of female space marines, probably from a guy who never read White Dwarf 98.
And I mean, my God, they had the French flag on something. How low can you go?
Implying France is going to make it to space. Listen, when we put boots on Mars, it's going to be American boots. But yeah, so again, this widely circulated article is just fan fiction. But it's fan fiction. Everyone's like, oh no, this was canon in first edition because a YouTube channel put it out there without checking their sources. So yeah, female space marines never existed. They never existed, and as far as I'm concerned, Alan Merritt's little story is so full of holes without corroborating evidence that it's unreliable. So yeah, and on top of that, one last little thing, we're gonna bring up this image. This was some art. This is some art that a dude made of a female space marine, and this gets now. I've seen this passed around as there was art of female space marines back in first edition, and the answer to that question is, of course, this is the actual. Okay, for those who don't know, this is you can see the bottom of the image on the top of the text here. This was this is the statement by the artist. This artwork is one of my favorites, the female Ultramarines. It's not dated, but it's more than 20 years old, and I've never posted it online. I haven't looked at it in decades. The painting was inspired by Sister Sin on the back of Rogue Trader from '87. Back when we all thought Sisters of Battle were female space marines. No one actually thought that. But that's besides the point. I wanted her to be heroic in the same way Ellen Ripley from Alien, and be believable as a space marine. More a stern matron than a pinup. The armor is slightly feminized, but nothing like the later Sisters of Battle, who ironically also came out in '97. Also not true. We just saw the Sisters of Battle lore entry. We're going to get to that in a minute. Lore entry from Rogue Trader. The same time I was taking my portfolio to Games Day to try for a job. When the studio saw my portfolio, their first words on seeing these glorious gals was, "There are no female space marines." To which I replied, "I know, surrounded by all the shiny new Sisters of Battle, which GW just released, which sucked the wind out of my sails." I mean, my immediate...
That sounds like the more cope than I've heard in a while.
Why? It's like, well, first of all, to the artist behind this, why are you disappointed that women are getting represented? Or even back in 1997, this guy wanted to subvert, something masculine with something feminine.
But because they're not they're not the poster children of the poster children. They're not female Ultramarines. That's why.
And I'm sorry, but this kind of stuff to me is the refuge of the uncreative. But last thing, and this is another one that people say, this is another popular one people say, Sisters of Battle didn't exist till 1997. It's like, well, guess what? Roughly that's true if we're talking about a codex. This is Codex Sisters of Battle from, the original Sisters of Battle codex from 2nd edition.
Oh, that picture's triggered so many people.
But here's the thing, though. It's like, yeah, Sisters of Battle got their first codex in 2nd edition. Everybody got their first codex in 2nd edition. They didn't do codexes in 1st edition.
No.
They moved over to the codex system in 2nd. So yeah, it's like, yeah, Sisters of Battle didn't
I will
get
say it again, a bit louder. It's not about female representation. It's not about making spaces for females. It's about taking away spaces from men. Nothing more.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like every faction got their first codex in 2nd edition. That's how it worked. They moved over to the codex system in 2nd. If you were going to make a Sister of Battle in 1st, when you made your army in 1st edition, you rolled each individual character. Each individual character was a character you made. That is where you got your Sisters of Battle in 1st edition. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. You rolled them yourself. You made your characters. And then you gave them the weapons and equipment. You gave them the power armor. You gave them the bolters, all that. That's what was going on in 1st edition. And then you moved over to codexes in 2nd, and then we got Sisters of Battle as an actual army because they moved over to a system of pre-designed armies. So no, there were never female Space Marines, and based on all the holes you can punch in Merritt's story, there were never plans for female Space Marines, not even on the designing board. So yeah, it's like, it's time to let this topic die.
They won't, though.
We'll be getting Sunstroke posted, and Spiky Bits, and fucking Bell of Lost Souls reposted until the end of time, but it literally doesn't matter. This is the final word. There were never female Space Marines. They never had plans for female Space Marines. They never released female Space Marines. They never will release female Space Marines. And like I said, that's just the final word on this topic.